How's it going? Ariel here. Whew. Feeling a little bit underneath the weather. But I mean, I feel like shit. Just like sick wise. Um, but still on the challenge, which is pretty cool. Today's day 23. I recorded a video for day 21. So I know it's basically been almost like a week since I last uploaded a video, but just know that I'm still going strong, and things are cool. It's funny, I recorded a video on Sunday, and it just kind of turns like a whole rant about like my thoughts on like AI, my relationship with it, kind of from like my perspective as someone that comes from like a background of statistics, kind of like the underlying like mathematical models under the hood of them, and like kind of my philosophical inputs on that. And excuse my sniffling and my, I don't know if my voice sounds off. But anyways, basically the challenge is coming up to the 30-day mark, and I want to like reevaluate, because so far, this whole challenge is kind of started with, again, like 5 things that I'm saying I'm not doing anymore. And while that's cool and everything, I think I also want to add to that like things to do, right? Kind of like how there's like in like the commandments of the Torah, in the mitzvot of the Torah, there's like mitzvot aseh, there's like mitzvot aseh, which are like, they're called positive commandments, because it's like me telling you to do something, right? In that sense, they're positive, not like positive like like optimism, things like that. And then there's mitzvot lo ta'aseh, which are things that are like, don't do this. And the past 30 days have been a lot of just not. For me, it was just about just don't use YouTube, or like, I mean, like I do use it for my studying to be like a cantor for like my local Sephardic congregation. I use the word cantor. That I feel like this is a lot in the conservative movement. I'm not conservative. I'm fully Orthodox Sephardi. I'm learning to be a chazan. So the way that I practice is I have, there's videos on YouTube. And so what I do is I have my people that I have, and I search for them in Google, and then I have this like extension that literally cuts off everything, and it's just the video, right? So that way I'm able to like, because I want to be able to be like, okay, like I don't want this absolutist like no YouTube thing to be something that ends up hurting me, right? I want it to only be to my benefit. So that's what I'm doing. And that's been cool. I started a smicha program. Basically, I'm learning to be a rabbi, which is cool. And it's interesting. It's fun. I really like learning, and I really like studying halacha, and following halacha. Right, you learn a lot. Right now, we're learning about the laws of basar b'halav, which is laws of meat and dairy, kind of mixing together, and like what happens, and like in terms of like different kinds of mixtures, and like what happens if there's a whole world to it. But anyways, over the past week, it's kind of ups and downs, kind of like has always been for the past, when I look at like the journey as I was uploading kind of every day for the first, let's say, like 2 weeks, it's just, some days you're up, some days you're down. Some days you're really bored, and you're like, I just want to watch YouTube, and I just want to like, just like zone out, especially when you're sick. You're just like, I don't want to do anything. But like, I made myself like go out and like do stuff today. I feel a lot of resistance towards work. Um, still a lot of resistance towards work. If you know, and that's something that is kind of a bummer. That like I was hoping that by me cutting off the things that were like distracting me and like were my forms of hiding from my responsibilities, that I would then just, you know, feel motivated to do my responsibilities, and that resistance is still there. If anything, it's gotten stronger. Like it almost feels like it's like fighting me back. Or a bit like I would literally rather like work on hobbies or side projects or other things than like do work. You know, things that are considered work, things that are considered like uninteresting or scary or, you know, things like that. But that resistance is incredibly strong. It is like it feels like an iron wall that I have to break through. And I think a lot of it, I just need to start with just like my overall like mental health and like wellness and like physical health and wellness. So I think that's kind of the things that I want to like, you know, really focus on as I, you know, as I kind of move past this challenge. Because even though I said yes, if this is for 30 days, like I'm not gonna get my life together in 30 days. I feel like the process of getting my life together is going to be a lifelong process. And, you know, even when I feel like my life is like more together than it was before, I feel like it could, you know, life could always be more together, right? There's always something to look forward to, which I see as something that's actually exciting, not really daunting. And it feels like, you know, over the past 23 days, I believe, 23 days, I feels like I've accomplished so much, but also very little. And I feel like that's just the natural consequence of what happens when you try to come in with things with expectations. Where, like, have I gotten more productive? Slightly. But, like, do I feel like I'm just, like, this, like, ubermensch, just, like, getting stuff done go-getter? No. Not at all. I feel very far from that. But at least now it feels more like a possibility. Right? Because I don't have these things that hold me back from it. Right? And now it's just a matter of just adding things to do. And that's its own scary thing. You know, if you look at the first video of this series, of this challenge, it has been, I expressed a lot of fear going into it, a lot of anxiety, like not knowing what it's going to be like. And now it almost feels like I'm embarking on a new journey. Like it feels like the journey's transitioning, or the nature of the journey is transitioning from like things where I'm just cutting off things and restraining myself from things, to a place where I'm then pursuing things, which feels like it's a different monster entirely, right? Because it's like, you know, to not watch YouTube feels a lot easier now, because it's just like sometimes I get the urge to do it, but it's just, you know, if I don't watch YouTube, play video games, manga, anime, things like that, you know, and sugar, like I stay away from those things. And it's just like, as long as I just like, I could literally sit down and just do nothing. If I just sit down and do absolutely nothing, I'm technically not doing those things. And that's kind of what I've had to do sometimes. And that's not tenable. Right? Because ultimately the purpose of this is to then pursue a life of meaning and goodness and the things that I care about, and to develop the values that I think are like a prerequisite of being, you know, a full-fledged adult. which means, meaning that, I develop a value system, which of course is flexible, but is still, based in my own personal beliefs and things that I truly believe in my heart. And acting according to those principles and values, right? And that the things that I do are not motivated merely by, either fear or simple reward or punishment, right? Meaning consequence. Rather, they're fueled by a sense of right and wrong. I think that's what it means to be an adult. And I still feel like I'm very far from there. I'm in my mid-20s and I still feel like I'm very far from being an adult. But that's what I'm trying to change. And I feel like these 30 days have been the first, or this journey of the first 30 days, right, to 23 now, has been like the first meaningful step in that direction that I've taken in a very long time. And I think, as long as I keep on moving forward, as long as I just keep going, things will unravel themselves and things will change. There's a certain level of faith that I have to have in regards to that. And everything is for good, right? That all of the difficulties, the struggles, so they're all going to be worth it in the end. And what else? That's pretty much it. Today I was sick and I just felt like shit today. And, I was sick yesterday. And it's not, I don't like being sick. Being sick sucks, because it's like I have things to do and it's just like, it's not so much the physical symptoms, it's just like the mental, just drain, it just feels like I have no energy to do anything. Where it's like my eyes feel heavy. Like if I do even a simple task, I'm like, I need to lay down. So just kind of being present with that, being like, what, that's just how it is when you're sick. I guess that's just what the name of the game is. Just take your Dayquil, shut up, and just, get through it. Drink water. And it's pretty much it, I think, for today. I know it's kind of been a week, so I'm just trying to think, if anything really stood out to me this week. Not really. Which I think is what that's communicating to me is I'd say there was the real major improvements that I saw kind of came towards the end of week 2. And then I'd say the past week has been more or less the same. And I think what that's pointing to is that it's kind of showing kind of an inflection point of this journey of okay, a transition's coming soon, where it's gotten easier to deal with not doing the things that were distracting me and were taking away from my ability to live my life, because I was so it's almost hard to remember, even though it's really wasn't that long ago, of just how much YouTube and these forms of stimulation were just ruining my life. It was just all day, every day, just seeing on my seeing that I was you average an average screen time of 9 to 10 hours last week per day, and I'm like, holy crap. And now that number's a lot lower. I'm not reading books as much as I would like. I thought I'd be reading more books. The whole bathroom book idea. Still bring my phone into the bathroom. But then I'm just reading stuff on my phone. I'm still reading, but I'm just reading stuff on my phone. I'm just dude. Read a book. Read a physical paper book. And so that kind of leads me to kind of, another thought process, which is, as this journey transitions into like adding more things to it, right? I might also start adding, besides for adding things to do, right? Saying, now the challenge is going to the gym every day for 30 days or something like that. I'm not saying that's actually what's going to turn into, but like, kind of ideas like this. And if you guys have ideas of like stuff to add to be like, do this every day, share that with me, and I might just add it. I'm open. I'm fully open to ideas. But what I want to say is that also, aside from adding, things to do, I think I also might add more things of not to do, right? Being like, what, no phone in the bathroom, right? Because that's there's still more discomfort that I need to embrace, which is, being in situations where it's like, like no phone in bed, where it's just me and my mind, just thinking. Because then that might force me to then actually pick up the book. So, yeah. Like, it really does feel like progress is both very fast and very slow. Like, very painfully slow. Which I think my brain is very bad at gauging how much progress I should be making within a certain period of time. But, like, I have to recognize that I was starting from nothing. Literally nothing. Like, from zero. Like, I was complete wreck. And so, I can't expect myself to be like, like completely like, just like, a discipline driven, just all around really reliable guy from being a place where I wasn't any of those things. Doesn't really feel like, where I felt like my brain was so reliant on, cheap dopamine and just like, it's just noise. At the end of the day, like, it just feels like all those things are noise. Like, I realized, like, the scary thing for me was realizing that, like, I could watch YouTube all day, every day, for the rest of my life. I could go on I could look at the recommendations page and look at all the videos and just go from video to video to video to video to video. Pressing the forward key, and if, when I was like, I'm done with YouTube, I'll just jump to manga or anime. I could have done that, and I could be doing that for the rest of my life without realizing how fast time flies by. Next thing you know, I'll be on my deathbed, and just being like, what happened to all that time? Where did all the time go? What did I do with my life? And a part of me is incredibly grateful that I caught this at 26. It feels like I should have, if I get such a strong feeling that I should have done this earlier. Imagine where you'd be if you started this at 22. I'd probably be in a much better place than I am now, career-wise and like skills-wise and things like that. Physically, I feel like I'd probably, be in a lot better shape. But you know what? I think I need to just count my blessings and just thank God that, like, I'm here now. I'm still young. I'm still in my mid-20s. And you know what? Like, I have 4 years until I hit 30. In those 4 years, I have, if Atomic Habits is right and the growth is exponential, right? Then, and if I stick to it, I'll be 30 times better every year. Then I really hope that I'll be in a really good place in 4 years. And that when I'm 30, I'll feel like, when 30 hits me, I'll be like, you know what, like, I feel like I got a lot more left in me. Because that's a big fear of mine, is that what's going to happen when I wake up one morning and I'm just like, wow, like, I'm getting older. Like, aging is real. I think that it's a thing that doesn't really hit you until, like, you're in your 30s. And I just really hope that what James Clear says there is true. That as I just keep moving, right? I think I like this idea of adding 5 things at a time, right? So I add 5 no's. Maybe for the next 30 days, I'll add to that, right? Maybe like 3 yeses and 2 nos. Maybe like 3 things to do every day, and 3 things and 2 things to not do. And just deciding on that. And just doing 30 days at a time. 30 days at a time. Just 30 days at a time. And just seeing where that takes me. Because there's a guy here in my community who's like older. He's like in his late 70s. And he's a big like a Kabbalist, like a Mikubat, like a very mystical person, very well learned, like just like a true tzaddik, really truly pious person. And what's crazy to me is that even at his age, he's still growing. Like he's still working on himself. He's still, and it like you can see how much progress he's already made so far. Like he just never stopped growing. And I'm like, that's where I want to be. I want to be the guy, God willing, in his 70s, who from the time, God willing, now, from the time that, from his mid 20s to his, to his mid 70s, he just never stopped growing as a person. And like, that's where I want to be. That maybe I didn't make as much progress as I wanted in my life. But I want to be able to look back and say, I tried. And I kept trying, and I kept trying, and I kept trying. And to find solace and comfort in that. So, I'll let you guys sit with that. I'll let myself sit with that for a little bit after this. And to kind of just resolve in my heart that, like, this is the path that I'm going on. The path of development and progression. And to not stop. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.